Hey y'all, it's Lexi. Get ready with me while I answer your questions. So the look for today is inspired by this beautiful artistry that I saw on Instagram. I'm going to keep the same idea, but I'm going to do kind of a black pink aesthetic moment. So let's do that. I'm going to start by filling in my brows. So why don't we begin with a question that I get asked quite frequently. I get asked so many times, I've lost track of how many times I've been asked this question. Do you still work at Sephora? Have you ever worked at Sephora? Do you work at Sephora? Did you even work at Sephora? Once and for all, the answer is yes. I did, in fact, used to work at Sephora. If you don't believe me, here's some pictures of me in my uniform. Yep, I used to work at Sephora. I started as a beauty advisor and then I got promoted to a management position. There was a lot more stress in the management position. You actually were responsible for a lot more things and it was a lot of stress and I really couldn't handle it at the time because I had untreated mental illness. So I left. Aside from the stress of working in retail, I really loved the people that I worked with. It was really a lovely work environment in that category, but other things just, if you've seen any of my sketches, you'll probably understand why I left my job in retail. Actually, I was going through one of my drawers yesterday and I found this T-chart. I used to make these T-charts of basically ruminating, trying to figure out should I stay or should I go? And as you can see, the reasons to leave are far more ample than the reasons to stay. So yeah, one of my reasons to leave was hooligans / theft. I loved using the word hooligans. I think it's such a funny word. Anyway, after being there for over a year and being in a management position for a few months, I just had enough. Hats off to anyone who works in retail, especially in a management position. I don't know how you do it. I couldn't handle it. Next question. When did you get into the art of makeup and how long have you been doing it for? Like many others, I was stuck at home during the pandemic with nothing to do. Some were baking bread, some were playing video games, and some were rotting. I started looking at all of these incredible makeup tutorials. I was amazed by the artistry. I had done makeup before, but I know there's not necessarily a wrong way to do makeup, but I was putting eyeshadow on with my finger with no primer. It was crazy. So I started going to CVS and just buying drugstore makeup and just practicing. I mean, I was out of college. I was back at my high school waitressing job. It was a pandemic. I really couldn't socialize much. What else was I gonna do with my idle time, I'll give you one guess as to what palette we're using today. Yep, So I started learning about makeup. I was teaching myself with videos, YouTube, TikTok tutorials, but I actually didn't start getting really good until I would say fall 2021, spring 2022. Once I left my first salaried position, I had a lot of time on my hands and I started practicing more and more, and that was when I started getting really good. I also, at the beginning of 2021, started watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and I was just fascinated by the makeup artistry. There was a time where I could barely put eyeshadow on. If you had told me 5 years ago that I'd be doing drag, I'd have been like, what? And look where we are today. I am fully dressing in drag. For those of you who don't know, I have a degree in psychology, and that was the career path that I thought I was going to pursue. And then I fell in love with makeup. And then in 2022, I had 2 part-time jobs. One of them was at a psychiatric hospital, and the other was at Sephora. So I got to do both. So to answer the second part of the question, I've been doing makeup for about 5 years now, give or take. Half a decade. What's something you could say to Sephora kids being disrespectful now that you don't work there? Stop. Get yourself some help. I would want to talk to the parents because it's the parents who don't want to hold their kids accountable. Children are a product of their environment, and if you continue to let things go and not hold them accountable, they will continue testing limits, and then they'll go out in the world and test limits, and when they receive consequences from the outside world, they're going to be like, what? I wasn't expecting that. Consequences. So if you prime them early on to believe, hey, if you do this, there will be consequences, maybe they won't go in public and act like fools. Just a theory. One of the main reasons I left Sephora was because I did not sign up to be a full-time babysitter to these children making a mess. And I was like, I did not sign up for this. I signed up for sharing my passion for makeup artistry with clients who want to learn more. I did not sign up to be at a daycare center. I'm gonna try to replicate this on the other side, and I will be back. Now I'm going to cut the crease with some Clinique Micellar Water. What was your worst experience working at Sephora? One that you actually have nightmares about? I tend to have more nightmares now about working in a restaurant than I do working at Sephora. I don't know if it's because I worked at a restaurant for longer, but there's just something about the food service industry that has stuck in my unconscious for some reason. Both jobs are very stressful. Being in any type of customer service atmosphere, there is a less than complex sometimes where customers see you as subservient to them and they treat you as such. And it's horrible. If I could pinpoint like one experience I had at Sephora, it's so hard because I've had so many and I left quite some time ago, so it's kind of becoming a blur. But then I'll like rewatch my sketches and I'll be like, oh, I remember when that happened. That was horrible. But anytime I was yelled at, I do not enjoy being yelled at. I mean, who does? But it is very triggering for me to be yelled at. Like, calm down, lower your voice. We can talk like adults. Also, customers that blame you when you're out of stuff. And it's like, do I look like I create the inventory? Do I look like I can control what products we run out of? Like, what do you mean you're out of this? It said on your website. I don't know. I don't create the website. I don't control when we run out of products. Another question I get is, are your skits actually things you've encountered in real life? Many of my skits are inspired by things that did happen to me throughout my experience working in customer service. Are some of them a little exaggerated? Perhaps, but you would be amazed at some of my skits that actually did happen in real life. For example, that skit about the parent that thought that because they were a police officer or like they knew a police officer that their kid would get away with stealing, that actually happened. Like, girl, be so for real. People just want the easy way out. Make this go away. Please don't make my kid hate me. You are not your kid's friend. You are your kid's guardian. By enabling their behavior, you are setting them up to not be successful in the real world where they're actually going to be held accountable for their actions. But hey, what do I know? How is your skin so clear? Because I stopped dating men. Next question. In all seriousness, I have struggled with my skin in my 20s, and one of the products that I've used that has helped me with my hormonal acne is called Differin Gel. That has helped me a lot. I've tried a ton of different skincare products from Sephora. I could tell you the products that work for me. For example, like the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream works great. Also, my aunt recently got back from France and she got me these face oils, and I've noticed a huge difference in the luminescence of my skin. But yeah, just figure out a skincare routine that works for you. Also, take your makeup off. I've heard of some people that sleep in their makeup. Like, what? Like, don't do that. Take off all your makeup, use a cleanser, use a moisturizer, and if something irritates your skin, don't use it. What is one thing you regret? Ooh, just one thing. I'm somebody who has a pattern of dwelling on things, and I'm kind of trying to break that pattern. But I will say that after this year, one of my biggest regrets is not getting the help that I needed for my OCD sooner. I did not know or understand what the proper treatment looked like. I had to go down this dark, deep OCD abyss to finally seek the help that I needed. There's so much in my life that I didn't realize was OCD until I started learning more about it and reflecting like, oh, so you're telling me that was OCD. Or when this was taking up hours of my life, that was OCD. Oh, okay. This is a diabolical condition and it can take over your life if you don't get the help you need. I make a video where I talk all about this. If you haven't seen it yet, feel free to go take a listen. I also regret not coming out sooner. I did not come out until I was like 22, 23 because I was just so scared. And of course, my family ended up loving and accepting me for exactly who I am. My family are some of my biggest supporters, and had I known that that was going to happen, perhaps I would have done it sooner. And perhaps I wouldn't have wasted so much time on men who wanted absolutely nothing to do with me. What inspired me to dye my hair red? So I had been blonde for quite some time, and I wanted to do something different. I will say blonde hair is great if you enjoy dyeing your hair with semi-permanent vivids, because blonde is the base for that. So for my last funky hair for a while, this past summer, I went to Montreal Pride, and for that, I dyed my hair blue. And blue was fun, and I think it looked pretty good on me. But I knew for my next permanent, I wanted to do something different, because this has been such a transformative year for me, and I knew I wanted to reflect that with my hair. So I thought about going back to my natural hair, which is very dark. I thought of doing like a copper or like a strawberry blonde, but I came across this photo of like this bright burgundy, and I was like, that is so beautiful. And after I got my hair to how I wanted to get, I was so happy with it. I love this hair color on me. And also looking back at like a time in my life where I had red hair, I'm gonna remember that was the time where I was in recovery from OCD. I really wanted to make a transformation because like I am not the same person that I was at the beginning of this year. I am a new and improved version of Lexy. This is an interesting question. How do you adjust to the time change when the clocks went back? Girl, why are we still doing this? What century are we in? Why does it need to be dark at 3 p.m.? I could go off on a whole tangent. Like probably many other people, I do not do well in the cold weather mentally. My OCD crash out started during the winter time where it was getting dark very early, it was cold, and people just wanted to stay inside and rot. The days are getting shorter and it's getting colder outside. I cannot control those trends, but I can control how I handle it. I think waking up earlier and going to bed earlier has helped me so far, and continuing to go outside and get some fresh air and sit in the sun even when it's cold. Vitamin D is very important, although it doesn't cure OCD, fun fact. Why are we still doing the clock changes? It does not need to start getting dark at 4 p.m. It's just not necessary. What is something you've always wanted to try but haven't yet? Okay, how can I answer this without getting arrested? Guys, I'm just kidding, relax. I definitely want to travel. I've been doing quite a bit of that this year, actually. I went to New Hampshire, I went to Vermont, I went to Montreal, but I want to do more. I want to go to Europe, I want to go to LA, I want to go to New York again. I was thinking about traveling out west earlier this year, but my OCD had other plans for me. In the future, I definitely want to travel more. I love going on planes. I want to see the world, and I'm excited to hopefully get more opportunities to do that. I'm gonna go dazzle up this look, and I will be back with the finished artistry moment. All right, and this is the final look. If I do say so myself, I think it looks fabulous. Thank you for all of your questions, and thank you for supporting my content and supporting my return to YouTube and TikTok. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, and let me know what content you want to see more of. I have a lot of freedom on my YouTube long-form content to do whatever I want, so if you want to see more mental health videos, more makeup tutorials, LGBTQIABCDEFG things, let me know. Have a wonderful day, a lovely weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. So to answer the second part of the question,